everybody, and welcome to Blood and Popcorn Behind the Screams, the first in our new series from the Blood and Popcorn family. And with us tonight, we have some very, very special guests, the cast and crew of the amazingly wonderful, bloody good time known as Ugly Sweater Party, which we watched back in December. And now they're here. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Why don't we tell the folks at home who everyone is? Aaron, tell us about what you do.
Hey, what's up? I'm Aaron Mento. I wrote, directed, and edited Ugly Sweater Party, and super happy to be here. And thanks to everybody for checking out the movie before this or after this or whenever. And hope you have fun watching this.
I'm Charles. Oh, go ahead.
Hey, no, I swear. Hi, Sean Whalen. I play Declan Rains. I'm the evil force that haunts the ugly sweater.
I'm Charles Chudabala. I am also a producer on Ugly Sweater Party, and I play Cliff, who comes in contact with the haunted sweater.
I am Paul Stephen Edwards. I am the person who was in charge of photographing said evil sweater in all of its glory.
And I'm Kevin Caliber. I play a fun character named Sean. I get to meet the ugly sweater, and I get to be at the ugly sweater party. So party on.
Thank you all for that. And with me, as always, the Demogorgon, Denise Pantoja, and the Odd Movie Master, Glenn Akers. Guys, we got an exciting night ahead of us here. And Sean, we know you gotta cut soon, so let's jump right into it with some questions for you, Sean. I'm just gonna kick things off. How did you get involved with Ugly Sweater Party?
Felissa Rose had mentioned that she had a fun movie, that she wanted to meet people. That she said you'd love to meet these guys. So we all met at a weren't we at some like patio restaurant?
It was El Torito.
El Torito.
Nice.
El Torito. Where was that? El Torito where?
Burbank.
Burbank.
We were at El Torito, Burbank, and we were hanging out that night. And the thing I remember is they were like, we're going to do most of it in the mountains and stuff like that. And I thought, with my kids and stuff, that might be pretty hard. I had just, I had joint custody and things like that. But then when we started to talk about it, Aaron had gotten in touch and said, no, we don't have to do any of that. We'll be able to shoot you out in a day. And I thought, that's weird. I thought it was in the whole movie. So I remember I had an independent movie idea that I was kind of like, it's so hard to make and blah, 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 blah. And I went. And we went in a house somewhere. I forget where we were, the valley or somewhere. And I went in, and they had dressed this whole room like a interrogation room. And we did some just crazy. I mean, my guy is the disgusting, evil human. So I had a great time just being furious with, the cop and being evil and laughing and getting just the crap beaten out of me. And but not caring because he just doesn't care. He's just an evil person who doesn't have any feelings. And I had so much fun doing that. And then we finished and cleaned me up. And I thought, God, how are they going to get me for the rest of the movie? They brought me outside using natural light for a green screen. And they just shot all these different sequences of me that they ended up putting into the movie, which was really cool. Meanwhile, like I'm talking to Aaron and Charles and Hunter, and we're just kind of hanging out and talking. And I was like, these guys are just great guys, and they had a fun idea, and they're doing it. It's so many people in this town. It's always like, if I wasn't driving this Uber, I would be, you know what I mean? And you're like, okay, but to actually do it, you know what I mean? And I could see it wasn't a huge high budget movie, but it was done in a way that was really cool and was in the kind of genre that they were going for anyway. Totally worked and fit the thing. And so I remember they inspired me 100% to go home and write my movie, because I would just walked out of there going, I believe you can make a movie if you have the right people and the right energy. And Aaron, Charles, and Hunter 100% did, and it was super, super inspiring. So they led me to write my own thing, and I'm now doing a movie. We started it earlier, and I just didn't know what I was doing to raise money back then. But now it's kind of going now, and it's doing pretty well on Indiegogo, and got a good budget, and I'm writing and directing and everything. But I just wouldn't be here if I never did that movie and was worried about the mountain thing or whatever. I don't think I'd have my movie today. These guys were just so inspiring that it just made me think, you know, if you have heart and drive and a great attitude, you can get anything done. And it was super fun.
Inspiring is the absolute right word. That's something we all talked about when after we watched this. It was just like, and something we wanted to highlight in the episode for the show that we do, was that this is the kind of project where as a filmmaker you see this and it makes you want to go out and do the thing, and super inspiring.
Well, and they also, you know, if you look at movies like that and go, man, they look like they're having a blast. And I can tell you from being on that set, and I wasn't even around all the crazy people up in the mountain, which now I regret 100%. But I was like, yeah, we were having a blast. We had a blast. You know, it was so much fun.
Well, Sean was amazing. I mean, he came in and he just he was that character, and we couldn't have shot it out in a day as easily if you weren't so dialed in and so awesome, man. So you inspired us too. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of it's just, I hate showing up to a set unprepared, and no matter what the size, budget, or anything, I don't know. I just can't do it. And especially when people are putting their, you know, hearts and passion projects on the line, you go, well, yeah, I got to show up for these guys, you know? And oh my God, I had the grossest blood in my mouth, just all these bruises. And I remember trying to eat lunch around the blood, and, you know, but it just didn't matter. Like, it was so much fun. We had a great time.
That's so cool.
Good. And that's a really important thing that you mention. We were really wanting to highlight that it's so important to celebrate when things get done, when people do things, when people actually get out there and they make their films. And that was one of the things that we were so excited about when we watched Ugly Sweater Party. So thank you all. I think, Glenn, you had a question about one particular scene, right?
I did. I mean, it's the infamous opening interrogation scene.
Yes.
Kudos to all of you. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
That says a lot about you, unfortunately.
It's a very accurate depiction of Glenn.
It is. I'm quite all right with that, actually. Well, did you have trouble keeping a straight face? Because watching that, there are some utterly hilarious lines that if I was in there, I could not have kept a straight face.
I don't think so, only because I had a lot of training at the Groundlings and comedy. Look, I'm one of these guys that oh, Jimmy Fallon couldn't keep his mouth shut and laughed all the time, and I was like, that sucks. That sucks for everybody. If I was laughing and giggling, that means I'm not in it. And if I'm not in it, then my job to make the joke work is to be in it. So I don't see it as a joke. You know what I mean? My character doesn't see it as a joke. He's just, you know, so I think, I've never been a fan of the SNL people busting up, and I go, well, you just lost us. You know what I mean? Now the belief, the imaginary circumstances you want us to invest in is now not here. And especially this is the opening of the movie. And I really do think it's my comedy training that I, know how to, commit to that without doing it. But yeah, I just think it was just being in there. And look, you get that joy, not by you laughing at the end, but as soon as Aaron says cut and then the crew busts up, then you get to celebrate that moment. You know what I mean? But during it, it would just be, look, I just found out that Gene Wilder, when Cloris Leachman was doing the, you want the water? No, thank you. Ovaltine. He couldn't keep a straight face. And she was finally going, Mel, you've got to make him, keep it. But I would man, I don't know how he could keep it straight with Cloris Leachman, but I mean, it does happen. But I think, since it was the opening thing, and I knew they were on a budget, man, they don't have time for many, many takes and, to eat it all up all day, and then they go, well, now I got to bring it back for the green screen another time, and so yeah, I think it's all of those things.
Yeah, and I think I would have laughed if I didn't have so much on my mind.
Yes,
there was so much to shoot that day.
Yeah.
So it was, and then Brad Potts, who played Detective Brolin, he's so funny and eccentric, and he came up with a lot of stuff that wasn't in the script, and it was so funny. I was just like, just
Oh
go
yeah,
for
we
it.
played. It was
Yeah.
super fun, and
Yeah,
that's
it was-
always fun too, to spar with someone who can bring, you know, comedy stuff. You're kind of bringing you're sharpening your improv tools again, but instead of doing it in a acting class or whatever, you get to do it in a movie. So yeah, he and I had a blast.
So were there opportunities for you to improv some stuff in there?
Yeah, yeah. We would just kind of feed off each other, just weird stuff.
all sorts
And
of weird stuff.
we were asking Aaron at the beginning, like, "Hey man, can I do?" And then by the middle, you know, probably the middle of the end, we were just saying weird stuff, and he was just like, "No, go, just have fun." And yeah, we were just being insanely weird.
That's wild.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead, please.
No, I was thinking how fun it was to be between the two of you, like in those shots, you know, and seeing that like those personalities bounce off of each other, you know.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine. That had to have been a great experience.
It was awesome. It was awesome.
Was the just because we're on it real quick, one of our favorite lines, and I know mine, I crack up every time, was the detective run of what was it, the one that is like there's shades of blue and in the gray world, and you know, that scripted, or did you guys come up with that?
That was scripted. That was scripted. Okay. His mud bomber line was not scripted.
Oh,
yeah.
That was my next question.
Yeah. That one caught us all off guard. I was like, I'm gonna use that for sure. Yeah. There was something similar, but not as good as that. That was really good. Whatever, he was on another wavelength. He had all sorts of. And he came from the Navy, the military. I'm not sure what his background is, but he had all these interesting names for things that I was not familiar with.
Oh, I bet.
Great.
That was awesome.
Right. Well, I know, Sean, you're on a little bit of a time crunch, but did you want to tell us a little bit about Crust before you leave?
Yeah, Crust is a movie about a lonely guy that lives in a laundromat. He's an ex-child star, depressed. He takes all the socks out, leftover socks out of the dryers, and uses it to wipe all his bodily fluids. And then he gets bullied and harassed by Charles Chudabala. And he's devastated and cries, and his painful emotional tear brings that sock pile to life to be an avenging sock monster who goes after all of my enemies. And unlike like Little Shop of Horrors, it's kind of where Seymour hated it. My guy actually makes him feel better and makes his depression feel a little better to have someone on his side, kind of like Willard, you know. And he's trying to have a relationship with a new woman. He's trying to, you know, figure out if he's doing a reboot of his kid show again. He's got a lot of stuff going on, but you know, he's got to try to figure out how to tame Crust, or Crust to tame him.
Love it. That's such a cool concept. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I need to see.
I got to
like,
go on
now.
that note. But thank you guys for having me. I appreciate you all.
Yeah, Sean, thanks for coming.
Great having you here, Sean.
Thank you very much.
We'll be in touch, buddy.
Love
Have a good
you.
one, man. Thanks, man.
Take care.
So
awesome.
Cool.
Very cool. Denise is going to hop off real quick. Her audio is a little wonky, so she can come back in a second.
Cool.
But we'll keep on chugging along here. While we do, you know, I know one of the big things for me was the sweater. Obviously, is a huge part of this movie. Tell us a bit about where the design for the sweater came from. Why did you opt to go with like a hoodie as opposed to like a traditional, just out of the Walmart Christmas sweater like the one I have at home? Tell us about the sweater.
Yeah. Well, I saw you guys talking about it when you guys were first reviewing the movie, and it was totally valid criticism for why this sweater is a hoodie and not a sweater. I'll let you know the thinking behind that. And if I was to do it over again, I would not have had it be a hoodie the whole time. So the idea was, I went to a thrift store and I found all the sweaters in this thrift store. They're having this big sale, and I was like, "What the hell is the hero sweater going to look like? How do we make something be so ugly and immediately recognizable and not look like all these other sweaters?" So the thinking was, I found these like mustard hoodies, and there was a bunch of them. So I was like, "Oh, this is great." So we can make many versions of it, and the yellow will stick out from everything else. You'll know what it is and all that kind of stuff. fast forward, we only made one because
Oh, no.
we ran out of time. We ran out of,
Oh,
you know.
no.
Oh no!
So Charles had to wear that same sticky, disgusting sweater the entire shoot, never washed, and it was gross. And it got more and more filthy as it went along. So yeah, so that was the big hurdle, was kind of like, what does this sweater look like, and how can we replicate it? We have to make it so we can replicate it a bunch of times because we're going to make so many of them. And then we didn't.
Right.
I mean, it's good. It's good producing. It's intelligent producing.
Yes.
Like I get it, man. Like that was the right call, you know. And it's God, Charles, I'm so sorry you had to lug that thing.
Well, you know, and for every effect, well, that was the cool thing, you know, in the movie, as the sweater's progressing, as it's getting dirtier, as it's getting bloodier, as it's getting stickier, as it's getting dingier, whatever, that's happening in real time. It's like we shot something, and so it's all a continuation of the continuation. And like there were times like getting it off my body, it was literally like art imitating life. Like it was sticking to me, you know, and yeah, I mean, it's my DNA's on it. Well, I mean,
That's hilarious.
If he would have cried on it, it probably would have come to life.
Yeah.
It's real talk.
That actually leads me to the next question. How are we doing here?
You're great.
Audio?
Yeah, everything synced back up.
Clear.
I was going to ask, there were so many liquids of varying viscosity thrown at you, face, body. Do you know what the list of real life materials was at this point in time?
Is that for Charles? How many
Yes,
fluids
Charles,
and
for
what
Charles,
kinds?
Yeah. Did you know what was being thrown at you at the time, and B, do you remember what it is now?
Oh my god, liquids being, my gosh, I'm reliving the movie in real time right now. Was there goop?
Oh yeah, there was goop. Yeah,
Is that what it's called? Goop.
Yeah.
Varying degrees. Oh my god, yeah, we had a lot, like Richard Calderon.
Yeah.
Was the special effects makeup artist.
Yeah.
And he also did some puppeteering too. So one point in the movie, there was these tentacles, and there was this slime that, like, I mean, nothing was ever allowed to be dry in this movie. like if it's got an orifice, if it's got like a cranny, let's just fill it up. Like let's just you know, serum, you know, something, But yeah, gosh, that memory is finally coming back, where the hand, you know, I was kind of like being reborn through the tentacle as well.
Right.
And keep in mind, we're on a real camp, so like as I'm, you know, there, like it's leafy, it's leafy.
Yeah.
Leafy, it's, you know, very gravelly out there. And so yeah, I was.
So everything starts to stick to you as well.
Yes, the pieces stick.
Oh yeah. Forever.
And Kevin, you got hit with like a gore gun or something, right? Like when you got shot with the laser with your shirt off?
Yeah. I can't remember how they did that. It was just a big thing of fake blood. They did it and it was like almost like a super soaker or something. Whatever.
Yeah.
Like a cannon just blast you. And I remember, we're at a real camp. There's not really electricity. There's not really that much running water. It was like a camp that either wasn't done completely or it was done and just hasn't been used in 3 years. I can't quite describe it, but there was like that one running shower, which is the shower scene as well.
Yeah.
So everybody that's in front of the camera, as well as all the people behind the camera, we all shared that one shower.
Oh, that's so cool. I love that. That shower scene is like, gets me every time. I love that. I love that for Mandix, man. I just love that at the end we get that. You know, it's beautiful. It really, in a movie that's crazy, it's a really beautiful moment for that character.
I consider that one of the only sincere moments in the movie is Captain Mandix, you know, getting his happy ending.
Yeah, and then the Ralphie smile at the end from like Christmas Story, that little sly wink at the end.
Yep, that's right.
Kevin, we were reading earlier in an article that you and Aaron worked together quite a bit. How did that relationship come to be?
Yes, this was actually the first time I had met Charles, and then I was at a con. I can't remember, it was Monster Palooza or one of them, and I went up and said hi to Charles, and then he was there with Aaron because they had just got done doing Aaron's series. What was that? Choose Your Kill. So they had just got done doing that. He introduced us, and then I was at that meeting at the El Torito whenever we all kind of. I feel like Aaron, he's like a mad scientist. He looked around and he's like, "You'll be here, and you'll be here," and he paired us all together. Like you two will be the twins, and he paired me and Bernie together, and he's like, "You guys will be a couple." So it was actually the first time that me and Aaron had ever worked together was on this one, and we clicked very well. And I couldn't get enough of it. Like from the first, we actually did the table read at my house, and from the very first table read, I think it was probably the funniest script reading that I've ever been a part of. I was like, this is like comedy gold, not having any idea of all the batshit crazy visual stuff that was going to be going on, but strictly from a jokes with Hunter and Charles as the leads. I mean, it was like just the funniest thing. And so I tried to help out any way that I could. I did the pickup shots. I was helping puppeteer. I was helping anything that I could, because it was such a fun set to be on. And even we did a really cool, we did the sweater building party. So we all got together and it was like this cool party where we were all making these crazy sweaters, and then we got together and we rehearsed the dance scene together. And Charles was our dance instructor on that one. Charles and Laura were, and it was just one of those things. You just couldn't get enough of it. I mean, normally if I'm on a movie for a day or two, I'll just go do it, and thanks for having me. But this is one it was such an infectious environment, and it was for a lot of these guys, it was the first time that I worked with them. And so we jumped on that, and then from that point forward, me and Aaron kind of became buddies, and we're like, yeah, we should do something else. And then Aaron had this other cool idea for a project, which every one of us had a part to do with too. We did a film 16 bits, and Aaron created an amazing character for me, Wax Waster. It's a video game character come to life, and yeah, just one of the coolest things that you could be around. Literally, Paul shot that one as well. We had to have Charles. We had to have Charles and Hunter in there. You know, they're like the lifeblood of it. You know, so it's all good things.
It definitely feels like a big family affair with all y'all. It warms my jaded old Hollywood heart to see that there's still people out there who love to do this and who do it with their friends. Man, that's why I know all of us got into this business, was to make cool shit with our friends. And like I said earlier, it's very inspiring to see y'all actually do it. So thanks for that. Glenn, I think you had a question.
Yeah, for Paul, more technical side. What were you using, like gear wise, and like how big was your crew, like camera and G&E?
Awesome. So the answer to the first one was literally whatever I could get my hands on. And well, we shot on a Blackmagic cinema camera for the most part. There's a small portion of the movie that you used. Was that a Nikon or a Canon? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was a Nikon.
Yeah. And that was and then there's also some GoPro footage from the chainsaw stuff, and then there's that drone footage. It's sort of this Frankenstein of different like styles and like digital devices and things like that we sort of cobbled together. But the primary narrative was shot on a Blackmagic cinema camera. Awesome. The first one of the first gen models. And we didn't shoot in 2.5. We didn't have the storage to shoot like on RAW or anything. So we shot straight ProRes, for whoever that matters to. So that means that we knew that we were shooting it in 1080. And that would be sort of the defining look of the film. And like Aaron and I just really vibed on all of the visual references, and just would be making some ups as we went along to, like, hey, this reminds me of, so and so. So when we were lighting it, that was something. As far as support crew goes, like, I had my amazing first AC, Mary Russell, who has since gone on to like be quite a horror director in her own right, and cool. But other than that, I mean, it was us on the camera side, and then Aaron picked up those shots, those other shots, and so yeah.
Okay.
That I don't know if that answers the question, but
No, that totally did.
Yeah, it was also we also pretty much lit it ourselves too, and that was we did a lot of things with interesting things with practical lighting and like party lighting and just whatever we could, however we could make it like look fun, we just made that happen.
Very cool.
That.
So
no, Paul's also being very modest. He was a beast. I think you was it a hernia you had there at the tail end of it that you revealed?
Oh yeah, that
he couldn't even move.
What?
He's being very modest. He was you just see him. He's got to go clinch up, and I was trying to move his lights for him, anything that I could, because he's literally moving one thing to the next, and you could just see it in him. But he would never complain. He would never stop. He'd anything to get the shot. So hats off to you, man.
Wait,
I remember that day. Yeah.
How long did you have that? I have.
You don't have to say. This was a pickup. No. This was for a pickup day. It was after It was after we'd done with principal, and this was the day that it's the Charles and Philippa in the cabin killing. Do you remember that, Charles? Yeah, that's the head exploding.
I'm having these moments. Kevin's talking. You're talking.
Yeah,
coming back.
So that was the only day of photography that I actually had to work with that constraint. But
wow.
But yeah, it was unfortunately, I literally had a cot to collapse on in between the shots, and everybody, the crew was so good on this movie, everyone. This is one of those rare movies where the cast sort of becomes the crew of the movie, and everyone who was there lent a hand and did something cool, and really has their thumbprint in some way on this movie. And Aaron did such an amazing job of creating a cool space that everybody got to play at a really high level, and I really appreciated that environment.
Very cool.
Thanks, man.
Speaking of inspiration, what were some of those inspirations? I have a little bit of a theory, but I would like to hear what your inspirations were first.
Oh, geez, for this, definitely John Waters is a big influence on me, for sure. John Landis is a big influence on me. So it's kind of like John Landis, John Waters, and then cult horror, Sleepaway Camp was a huge, huge influence on me. So the fact that we had Felissa Rose in the movie that really vibes like Sleepaway Camp was so cool and so huge. And we referenced Sleepaway Camp a bunch of times in it, because how could we not? And yeah, just Frank Henenlotter, his stuff, Larry Cohen's stuff. I mean, lots of indie underground kind of horror stuff, gritty kind of stuff.
Very cool. Paul, tell me if I'm wrong here. I saw a little Evil Dead in there. Was that a little? Okay, great.
Oh yeah. I mean, you sort of have to, because I think in a way, Raimi sort of pioneered that horror comedy, vibe, and you just want to do interesting, fun things with the camera, and play just as much as you can, but also, tell, the story as quickly and, stillly as you can. You don't want to jerk things all over the place and, keep things, visually appealing across the board. It's a challenge. One of the big stories is that we shot the entire thing without a monitor on the camera. We just used, we didn't have the budget for a monitor, so I was just literally going off of the focus and the histogram, on the thing, and trusting that everything was working out right, and it did. The dailies were, we would every day Aaron would sit there with those dailies. I remember you holding up and doing the data dump every day and
Yeah.
watching over it, and it was really cool how everybody got to sort of live and breathe making that movie while it was happening.
First of all, massive kudos. Wow. I don't recall anything being soft or out of focus, and you did that without a monitor. Holy
Props.
shit!
Well
Wow.
done.
Yeah.
Wow.
I saw in focus peaking for like weeks after that movie was over.
That's awesome.
Oh man, Aaron, like listening to you guys talk about the El Torito trip and the Kevin meeting Charles, how long, like, from the second you were like, I'm gonna make a movie about ugly Christmas sweaters, from like conception to release, what did that timeline look like for you and the team?
Yeah, so Charles and I hit it off when we did Choose Their Kill together, and I just had a really good feeling about Charles, and I wanted to work with him again. He just has one of those personalities that you just want to hang around him, and he's inspiring. You want to create with him. And so I talked to him, and I was like, "You're kind of plugged into the indie horror community." I was like, "Who do you like?" You know what I mean? I'm like, if you like someone, they got to be cool because you have such a positive vibe. And I knew that indie films live and die by one squeaky wheel and we're screwed. Like one squeaky wheel and we're screwed. And so I wanted to do lots of checks and balances to make sure everybody kind of like, there was kind of like a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, so no one was going to be on bad behavior because they didn't want to, like, oh, their buddy's working on it too, so they don't want to ruin it for them. You know what I mean? So I'm a super collaborative writer. I have kind of a weird process. I tend to write for actors. So I had a rough idea for the project, and then as Charles would introduce me to people, I would be like, I'd just kind of create the character right there. Like when I met Kevin, I was like, okay, I know what I want to do with you. This will be a lot of fun. And then he inspired that character, just hanging out with him and just how funny he was. And Berna, his wife to be in that, also inspired me. Everybody just kind of like, I just got introduced to a lot of really great people, and I wrote for all of them. I wrote for their voices. So I wrote for Charles's voice, Hunter's voice, Laura's voice, Kevin. And the process, it went pretty quick from meeting everybody to writing the script, probably like, I don't know, a month, something like that. And then I rewrote it because we were going to actually have it be in a house party. It was going to be like a house party movie. And then Richard Calderon, our location manager, effects creator, etc., was like, I know someone who has a camp out in Idlewild that's like unfinished. And I was like, well, I'll rewrite the whole movie for that if we can use that. And we took a trip out there, and it was wild. It was this camp just sitting there, unused, kind of dirty. And I rewrote it for the camp, and then Richard had to wire the electricity as we were shooting. So we were like maintaining the camp as we were shooting. We were like,
whoa.
The electricity would go out. He'd be like in the trenches trying to get the electricity going. We had like one, like they said, like one shower, and it was hairy. It got hairy, but we got through it, and it was a lot of fun too. And then it took me a while to edit it because we had so much insane footage, and making sense of it in the editing room was wild. I had one cut that was like 70 minutes long, and I was like, this is great. And then I realized it would make sense to nobody but me. I cut everything that explains anything. It was just insane. You would think a lunatic made this thing, like from Planet Mars. So I had to go back and kind of like tease some things into there. And then the special effects took a long time to post stuff. The green screen and all that stuff, and dialing all that in took a while. So the post-production was longer than the writing and the production.
Very cool. I know we have a question about VFX, but Charles, I have to know, did you choreograph your dream dance? Because I know they were talking about you doing dance earlier, so I'm just curious.
Okay, well, yes, I did. Well, it was inspired on the spot, and the dream dance was the first shot of the movie. Like, we shot that first. That dream sequence was the very first thing we filmed. This was before, like, the cabin, before everything. And I think we even took like even a month after that was shot, to go back into pre-production, to really start principal photography. But it gave Aaron, Paul, myself, Hunter, Tiffany Brookfast a chance to to almost like christen the movie. Like, what is the tone? Let's find Ugly Sweater Party. Let's find it together. And that was our test in a way. And I was at the time a Zumba fitness instructor, and so I would have been doing that anyway.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I mean, now there's a camera and Aaron's saying go. So I was like, ooh, give me an inch.
Exactly. And as soon as he told me he was a Zumba fitness instructor, that's why I wrote that. I was like, oh, well, you can do a dance scene then. I'm going to use your talents, man. And so if anybody reveals they have any sort of talent or anything like that, I'll find a way.
Work it in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kevin, is that how you ended up with the volleyball net? You're a pro volleyball
Pretty
player?
much, yeah.
Like, what we got to do is we got to give Kevin a Top Gun scene. And
that was a gift. Well, it was ironic that I was like training for a competition. It was like my second ever bodybuilding comp, and it was pretty nice out relatively for being up in the mountains in the cold. It was kind of cold, but really we got really lucky and it was nice days. But it was genuinely like freezing, and so we're filming all the other scenes. Then that was the last day, and I remember it was like we joked around. I brought weights with me, and I'm like, it's time for the scene. And it's like, I felt like in Boogie Nights, I came out there, I was like, I'm ready to do my scene.
Yeah.
Get those veins swollen out, get them all going.
Like, what the hell happened to this guy?
Are you a fan of horror, Kevin? Like, was it exciting to be killed in a horror movie, or had you ever done horror before?
I had done a couple things in horror before. This was definitely the most fun. And yeah, I was definitely looking forward to a real fun death scene. And the funny thing about that is that I'm drawing a blank on the guy's name. He wasn't even there. So it's just one of those things where I'm just shooting my side of it. So it's just me, like, and they're like, and you just died. I'm like, So it's the acting got to kick in there, but yeah, couldn't beat it. And then and it's funny because with what Aaron wrote into the script, everything, we pretty much stick to scripts, but he's an absolute actor's director, and that he lets us have fun and lets us cook. And it's if anything's happening that spur of the moment, it's just kind of go with it. And Aaron kind of encourages us to have fun and get weird with it. And one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie, I guess I was in the scene, but not really, was the arm wrestling scene. And that was not in the script like that.
Oh my God.
It just keeps going further and further. And Gregory Blair just like he's just cooking. I mean, he just came in, he just realized he's going to come in and just throw fastballs. And it's just, it was just to watch it sit there and just keep going and developing. And you're like, no. And I look over at Aaron. He's just got this grin on his face. Like, oh, he's not going to call cut. He's going to just let him go. So.
Oh yeah, that last frame with the two of them effectively mounting their their campers was just great.
Yeah,
and because
Colton was the one Colton had no clue what was happening.
Yeah,
whenever he looks around, like it's in the cut. You see him look around. It's like it was just genuinely him. He wasn't in character. It was him. What the hell was going on?
Because I edited the movie, I encourage a lot of that kind of stuff because I know in my head how I can make it work in the editing room. I think if I wasn't editing it, maybe I'd be a little bit more nervous about that. But I love letting everybody just like have that stuff. And then if someone comes up with something, we got to get the buyback to make it make sense. We'll do that. We'll clean it up, and Paul was like that too. We're on the same wavelength. It's like, okay, we know we got to get the other side of that because it's different now. You know what I mean? So we just moved. We were like a well-oiled machine on that mountain.
I love that, man. It's so great.
Speaking of like editing, this isn't all editing, obviously, but there's a fair amount of like video effects, or I don't want to say visual effects, but like a lot of different like changes in how it looks. Also, there's a lot of visual effects as well. Was that you, Aaron? Did Paul? Did you have a lot to do with this? How did that come about? Not just visual effects, but like there's a lot of like visual change like between shots.
Yeah.
That
was both of us. Yeah, we both worked on that together.
Absolutely. I think we had we had talked natural born killers before, obviously
Oh,
before the interrogation sequence, because the film stock changes, the look in there,
yep.
to get that immediate like sort of like hyper real feeling that like, hey, you're watching a movie,
Yep.
and so that was sort of like our like that was our in for going in, and at least for that for the film, we had
Right.
already like had fun with Charles that first day, so like I just knew that visually we were going to be doing so many different things that we sort of had we had sort of our general sort of looks mapped up in a way, like while we were going around, and also knowing sort of which timeline we were shooting in, right?
Hmm.
Because time starts to alter over the course of the
Right.
script, so we would have to sort of keep that in mind. And then at the end, I came in at the end, also post production too, to sort of color everything, and
Hmm.
then that's where we threw in a few I threw in a few unique visual things like the light, the sort of crazy light stuff that went on with the sweater and stuff like
Hmm.
that. But Aaron like is just Aaron understands VFX in a way that few directors do, I think, and
Oh, thanks, man.
like just watching him work with that was just super inspiring.
Yeah, it was really
Thanks,
great.
man.
It
Like
was.
that fight, that big battle at the end was like chock block full of some pretty decent sized VFX lifts there, and it was awesome, man. Especially the
Thanks.
the wounds from the laser guns, like those were so clean. Like the
Yeah,
timing, the hit,
They
like
were.
yeah,
all that was really clean.
yeah. And
That was like really cool.
Richard Cabrera was our CG effects artist, so he did a lot of really good stuff on that too. Absolutely. And Paul and I, for the look of the movie, we talked about making it look like an ugly sweater. So all these clashing style. I mean, we would even make it intentionally not look right shot to shot, like we were using made it look like we were using like dirty short ends, like and like
Yeah,
that all that were
Yeah.
all different stocks and just like yeah, we just like we leaned into that kind of weird flashing.
That's
That's so
perfect.
cool. One of the things that really stood out for me in this, like I'm a huge fan of soundtracks. It's a big part of the experience for me, especially when you can get like a title track in, like you guys did. Which I mean, listen, I don't want to be vulgar, but fuck you guys for that song. It's been on loop. The like I saw Safari, Ugly Sweater Part has been on loop in my head for 2 days now, and I'll never forgive you for it. One, where did that come from? And two, where did the whole soundtrack and score come from? Because it was really good. Like it was like there were some bangers in there. That Santa song in the car,
Yeah.
Charles with you and Hunter. I was like, what is this song? It's so dope. Tell us about the music from this movie.
Yeah, so the title track, I wrote the lyrics to it, and then a couple composers and musicians did the actual singing of it and the composing of it. They did a great job, and that was inspired by a lot of like 80s horror movies that I like Killer Party. I don't know if you ever saw that one.
Yeah.
They have this song like these are the best times of our lives, and that song just plays throughout the whole movie. It like just like kind of comes and goes and comes and goes. It's like the anthem of the movie. So like I love having like an anthem like that kind of carries you. And we do something similar with 16 bits um, for another song. So was that song, which I was super happy with. They just really killed that. And then Roman Kovalik, who did music for the movie, he was part of a metal band called Omacida or Omachita. I'm not exactly sure. I think it's German. I'm not sure. But they had a whole bunch of really cool, like that's that metal that they're all playing, like the metal band. So he actually plays, I think, bass on the tracks. I could be wrong, but he doesn't sing. He's lip syncing his friend singing that.
Oh,
But he knows
interesting.
those guys.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that shit shredded, man. Those were some that was a dope part of
good
the movie.
shit, right? Yeah, and then Honore, our buddy Honore, he did the Santa songs. So he's like a really great R&B artist. I'm actually making a horror musical with him and these guys again. We're all making a horror musical. So he did those Santa songs. So yeah, music's a huge part of what I love about for movies. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, but Chud 2 is one of my favorite like title tracks. Bud, the Chud, Bud. It's like
that's right. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's a big goal for me as well. That's so cool. So man, a musical horror, man, that's a rare breed, and they're so good. I'm so excited to see y'all do with that. But speaking of one last kind of music question, and one of my favorite songs in the movie and one of my favorite scenes in the movie. Please tell me where the Mandix Mambo came from, because that shit killed me, dude. Especially like, because when we watch these, we try to get together and watch them on Zoom so we can like have that experience as friends. And the second time around, when the Mandix Mambo hit, I had forgotten all about it. It was like watching it for the first time. I was dying. Tell me about. I need to know the Mandix Mambo.
Let's see, the Mandix Mambo. It's so funny. It's like, you have these ideas, and then when they happen and you're on the set shooting them, you can't believe that it's real. You're just like, we're actually doing this. I wanted to create like some weird camp song that like they all like were going to have a competitive dance competition with another rival camp or something like that. And so it was kind of like, if you ever saw, and Charles and I talk about this a lot, what's it called? Back to the Beach, that big scene where they're all dancing.
Oh my God, I love Back to the Beach.
Yeah, Back to the Beach. Yeah. Where they all just kind of start dancing and singing, and it's like kind of ska-ish a little bit.
It comes out of nowhere. It's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, so the same team, Minnie and Mo Blunts, they did the title song and they did the Mandix Mambo. I think I did the lyrics for the Mandix Mambo as well, and I gave them some reference tracks. And I think one of them was probably Back to the Beach. I think it was that big scene. And so they created this kind of like weird, almost Caribbean conga line vibe, like where they're doing it. Yeah, it's wild.
It's so much fun. There's so much fun music in this movie. I love it.
It was really great. Yeah. And what an eclectic mix too. Like
it's
Christmas
pretty weird mix.
And metal is pretty great. So we read, I was going to originally ask you, I love the name ocular migraine, and I was going to ask you where it came from. I read the article in Voyage LA, but if you could let everybody else know where it came from.
Sure. Yeah. So this is before I directed any movies or anything like that. I was just a screenwriter, and I had a day job doing SEO, search engine optimization, and I was looking at charts all day. And one day I lost vision in my left eye, and I couldn't see the middle of the charts. And I was like, what's going on? And so I freaked out, and I went out to the parking lot, and I was looking at license plates, and I couldn't see the middle of a license plate. I could see like the letter and number on the outside, and the middle was just like a gray space. So I was really scared. So I went to a few doctors, and it turns out it was an ocular migraine, which is like, it said it's almost like a headache inside your eye. And what caused it was eye strain, and I just changed my caffeine. I just drastically lowered my caffeine, and I started to look at worse graphs, like really. So if you change your caffeine and you strain your eyes, you might get one. So you just got to be careful. If you're trying to lower your caffeine, do it a little bit, a little bit at a time. I went too far down, and it just like, it made my eyes sight go crazy. But anyways, that incident made me go, okay, I need to start making movies now, because I was afraid I had like a brain tumor or something. One of the doctors even said he thought it was a brain tumor at first. And so I had to get like 3 separate opinions. And it was like, oh no, it's ocular migraine. So I decided to call the production company that, just to always remind myself of, time is short. Remember when you thought you had a brain tumor? It's like, let's get to work. Let's make some stuff. And quit that job and made this movie.
That's so fucking rad. Like I'm just gonna keep saying it. Like, y'all are big inspiration, man. Like that's a great story, and it's a super important reminder that life is very, very short, and we do not know what's gonna get thrown at us next, and to just fucking go. You know what I mean? I love that about you guys and what you're doing together. I think it's awesome that you found your tribe, and you're making what you want to make, and not asking permission. It's a fantastic model. I love it.
Yeah. So if anybody's out here watching this and you got a script, you got an idea, you're waiting for money, you're waiting for Universal Studios to greenlight it, just go make it with your friends. Just go or write something that you have a location. Write for your apartment. You can make a movie in your apartment now.
Yep.
If you throw as much fun ideas and don't worry about, you know, oh, people are gonna. I hear this a lot. People are gonna know it's low budget. It's like, who cares? You know what I mean? Better to have a movie than an idea, you know?
And that's precisely what we've been talking about lately too. Yeah. There's always a reason to keep yourself from creating, whether it's like you don't have enough money or you want to make it bigger, but there will always be those excuses, and you need to just like get out there and do it. So it's so great. Like that's why we love watching all sorts of different movies for this show, because the inspiration is everywhere. And I mean, like, good on y'all. Like, we know how. So Kevin met Aaron through Charles. How did you meet Aaron and Hunter? Because y'all have worked together a bit, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yes.
y'all collaborated a lot.
Yeah, a lot. So I met Hunter first, and Hunter was my first industry friend. So this actually ties into what Aaron was saying, and maybe this is also why we connect so much, is that it's like, you only got one life, you got to do it now, go play. And I was actually a marriage and family therapist before this, and I was a coach, and while I was helping people, I also got really burnt out because I was doing 80 to 90, it started to become like 90 hours a week, no sleep, no vacation. And I was like, I gotta, feed my soul now. I'm giving and giving and giving. It's time for me to do something for me. So I went on to Craigslist. Hey, by the way, Craigslist can make careers.
Shout out to Craigslist.
Shout out to Craigslist.
I have a Craigslist story for you later.
Oh, this is going to be the Craigslist podcast show. Let's do it. I went on a leave of absence.
Blood and Craigslist.
So like my mental health, I finally had to go on a leave of absence. The doctor said you cannot go back to work. And so I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So finally resting, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I, try to be, act? That's what I wanted to do before I got into therapy. When people say get a real job, get a career, do something that, that's going to make money. And literally within my first week of just sitting there, I booked a Toyota Scion commercial on my own.
Get out of here, Charles.
On my own, literally in
so
like 5 days. In 5 days. And I was like, ooh. And that one day on set, I literally by lunchtime, I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, I can't go back to work. I have to do this. This is my life. I'm sure the dread just went over her. Oh my God, I'm losing my son. And then I literally went on to Craigslist and said, okay, look, if I'm going to become an actor and this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to be the type of actor that I want to be, which is the actor that makes horror movies. Nothing but horror movies. That's my passion. I love the genre and I don't care. And boom, I booked my first horror film with Hunter Johnson. It was a film called Survive, which we shot it in the summer of 2014. Backpacks, there's like $10,000 in it. We're hunted by these people. They're like, you can keep the money if you survive. So, because the movie's called Survive. And so, so he was my first friend. And then then that same, then it was 2015. I met Aaron through Craigslist. Oh my God. And so Aaron was casting for his show, Choose Their Kill. We had a great time. It was the easiest shoot ever. I mean, and you never know if you're going to hear from people again, after you work with them. But I did hear from Aaron again. He was like, oh, we just got to check something with your contract. I'm like, oh, cool. I'll send it over. I'll sign it. And then one day, he hits me up and is like, hey, let's have coffee. I just want to talk to you or talk to you about something. I'm like, sure. So that was the day that, he told me about Ugly Sweater Party. And then I think Aaron got around to asking me if I was interested, or his goal was to ask me if I was interested, but I was like, well, I'm in. Before he could even say it, or I'm like, no, I don't care. I want to do it. And then it was like, cool. Do you know anybody who'd be really, really cool, in terms of just producing together, creating the trifecta? And I was like, Hunter Johnson. It's got to be Hunter Johnson, because Hunter had that same spirit as me at the time which what he was going through something very similar, where it was like, I got to make movies, I got to make, build my horror blog, this is one life only, and he was going through the same thing. And so it was just this mind meld of like let's hit the ground, let's just press play. There's no red tape. We create our own red tape. Let's just do the damn thing. Who do you know? Who do you know? El Torito brings people together. and then Kevin, I was working with on other things. And like, it was these islands that got brought together, but it was also very, very there's a lot of synchronicities that happened. Tiffany Brookbest is a real twin in real life. And she's playing a twin, but fraternal twin. You can't write this stuff. Like,
Yeah.
Really, that was good.
I think maybe the next project should be the power of El Torito and Craigslist.
Yeah.
Thank you, Craigslist.
And yeah, I know Hunter's not here today. He's actually on a shoot. He wishes he could be here, but can't say enough good things about Hunter Johnson. He's a terrific actor, great upbeat personality, wears a million hats, never complains. And I actually had to pull him back because he wanted to do so much. If you remember the scene in Ugly Sweater Party where he strips down to his pink underwear and goes to get the laser gun in that little mini lake. So that was originally, there was this really disgusting lake on the site that had been it's like standing water since the beginning of time. And I was looking at this sludge go, and he was like, we were going to have him go in that. And then I looked at it and I was like, dude, I don't want you to die, man. Like, I don't want you to go in there. And he was like, no, I'm going in there. And like, I had to like really, talk to him. I was like, dude, there's parasites. I don't know what the fuck is in that. Yeah. It's like, dude, it's like there was like slime that looked sentient on the top. Like it was not good. So he didn't do it. And he thanked me later that he didn't do that. But he was so gung ho. He was like, I'm going in the lake. I'm going in this. Oh, I'll strip down, do whatever. So Hunter's a great guy. And in talking with Charles and Hunter, a way to kind of anchor their characters a little bit was Charles. We were talking about Witchboard one day, which you like a lot, right?
Nice.
Yes. So yes, exactly. Yes. And so I made sure that his last name was Cliff Tenney, after Kevin Tenney, the director of Witchboard. And then Hunter's favorite movie is Sleepaway Camp 2. So his last name is Springsteen. So that's why he's Jody Springsteen, because Pamela Springsteen plays Angela in part 2. So I like to give them those little kind of anchors because it's just stuff that they love. And it's like, I like even their name has something that they love so much,
It's important. Like, when I was going through, I moved out to LA to be an actor. When I was going through that process of going through training, finding that like emotional Abinaya and like going through that, like it was like Stanislavski trained. So it's like going through all that process, like that helps, like as a performer, like to have that depth there to draw from is I'm sure all of you would agree, is a super, super helpful tool in the craft. So yeah, that's rad.
I think Glenn has a little lightning round.
I do.
Action. So everybody get ready.
It's the same question for everybody, and it's just very short, very brief. What is your favorite thing from this movie? It can be a shot. It can be a thing that happened not on camera. It can be pre-pro, post-pro. It can be this podcast, if you want to say that.
Paul, too, I want to like tack on to that for to get to, because I'm just so curious. What was your like to add on to that? Was your DP real shot? Like all DPs get that. Like I'm gonna get this one shot in the movie. That's mine, and we're gonna do it because this is going in my reel. Please incorporate that in there because I'm so curious.
You got it. You got it. Yeah.
Do you want me to start? I can start with. There's so much I could say, but I will say that on the campsite, the last day of shooting, literally the morning, the sun came up and then all of the mosquitoes hatched in the woods.
Oh,
and we literally, if that happened any time during the shoot, we wouldn't have been able to make the movie. Right. And it just happened. Like literally we were done. And then the hungriest, biggest mosquitoes I've ever seen in my life were clouds everywhere. And they were eating us alive just as we were picking up garbage and leaving. And as we were driving away, the mosquitoes were following. They were on the window trying to get it. It was like crazy. I was like, we got away with it. It was like a bank robbery. It was like we made it out with the loot, like just in time. So I'll never forget that.
That's That's fantastic.
I wasn't expecting that answer, but that's amazing.
That's so
Okay, Charles, if you're ready.
Yeah.
If you're
My
not, you can-
favorite thing about Ugly Sweater Party didn't happen during the shooting. The answer for me is easy. It's Coffee Commissary with Paul and Aaron and Hunter. We met quite frequently. I mean, pre-production was it was a journey. You know, it was a journey. But I mean, I look forward to spending an afternoon or a morning at Coffee Commissary with these guys, just talking horror movies, talking shots, talking what do we need next. And it was a dream come true because there was no time sensitivity with this. There was, in that we knew that there was a movie that we were going to have to make at some point and it was coming, but it was just a very rare experience to just sit together as though there was no time, as though the joy of doing the doing and the planning was the thing. You know, it was really, really very special for me. And to this day, anytime I'm meeting up with somebody, I'm like, let's go to Coffee Commissary. It's an instinct for me. It's like wherever I can find a coffee. By the way, Coffee Commissary is a place in Burbank, California.
I was going to ask where that was.
Oh, it's so good.
It's very good.
A little pricey. Pricey, you know, but and there's even one in Westwood too, as well, and Glendale.
Very good.
You got them all down. You got the map
it.
laid out.
Kevin.
Kevin.
Oh, sorry.
For me, it was Camp Mandix. We camped there. Like I've spent some super long days on set before, but never have I ever driven to set and stayed like 75 hours. It was literal camping. I slept in a cabin with Charles and the twins, and it was in sleeping bags on the floor. It was literally camping. It was the coolest adventure could have ever asked. The best memory could have.
Do you remember that the space heater like kept going out?
Oh yeah, we froze.
When it did turn on, it was like half. Like it never had enough power.
And I remember we had to tell the girls like when they would use their hair dryer, it would blow a fuse. It's like we had to turn one thing off. It's like, if you're gonna use the hair dryer, we have to turn off the space heater.
It's like my bathroom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right.
For me, the most valuable thing that I took away from this was a creative community for the first time. That, you know, this was the first time that I'd ever met a group of people and I was like, oh hell yeah, I work with these people again, you know? And it sort of opened up the world for me in a lot of ways. As far as being a DP, again, this opened up everything for me because I got to shoot a horror movie. I got to shoot a police movie. I got to shoot a science fiction movie. I got to shoot 12 movies in one movie. And, I tried to get as many of those, interesting hero shots as I could, because it was really fun to be able to swing for the fences on a low budget and crunched for time, and you've got to get the next shot. But man, that was just the most fun. I don't think I've ever had as much fun doing a creative project as I did on that, because it was just magic everywhere.
That's beautiful.
That
That
is.
is beautiful. I just have one more question, just because I'm so curious, because I love the final iteration of, I think one of the girls called it Sweater Face, which was fantastic. Where did how did that conceptualize? Like, where did that design come from? Because it's a big build. Like, there's all the tentacle stuff, and they all have stuff going on, like with the whatever ooze is dripping out of it, and then the fog. Where did that come from? And then the second part of that, Charles, what was that? I mean, I assume you were in there. What was that like, wearing like becoming the full, monster?
Yeah, Richard Calderon designed our Sweater Face. He's good friends with a mask company, a guy who creates like really cool masks, and the guy let us use one of their like really cool masks for like the kind of base for Sweater Face. And then Richard really loved like Tokyo Gore Police, a lot of really splatter Asian horror. So he loves tentacle, so we had many meetings where he was talking about his influence, my influence, and we kind of put them together. And so him and his assistant were using old school fishing line and moving them around, and we erased the wires in post. And yeah, and then Charles, I mean, Charles's performance in this movie, I think, is really kind of extraordinary because he has to play so many different versions of what he's playing. He's got to play Cliff and then possess Cliff, and then Cliff with Sean Whalen moving through him, and then Sweaterface, which is kind of both of them and another component. So Charles really brought that all to life. So my hat's definitely off to him for that.
Well, that was also your directing, Aaron, and shout out to you just for again, very rare that we get to spend time rehearsing, finding the characters, and you made time for that. Like, we would literally book weekends for that. We would book days for that. And I will say this: it is very true what they say for any actor that is in training. I trained in Meisner, but that clothing, accessories, they can literally change you. And sometimes you're preparing, and I had some things in my mind and some work that I did on my own to find Sweaterface on my own. But putting on the makeup, putting on the mask, putting on all of it, I completely transformed. My voice changed. The voice that I did through Sweaterface, I didn't rehearse that. That just came. That was like literally channeled, like Sweaterface found me. But I did have some mental notes that I made. One was I had this word in mind, and the word just activized me. And there's a movie called Babes in Toyland. It's a Disney movie. Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
I think Annette Funicello, but there was this guy, I think we call him the Grand Vizier, and that the Grand Vizier was the word that activized me. I'm like, okay, well, what does that mean to me? That would be something kind of regal, maybe a little flamboyant, a little arrogant, a little too big for his britches. And that, then with the costume and with all of everything on that day, and I'm so grateful that ended up being one of the last, like, we shot as much in order as possible. So when it crescendoed, all the stakes were higher. I think we were also tired, so all of that helped because it felt like we're getting to the third act. And it felt like I was ready to meet Sweaterface myself. I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna meet him too for the first time along with everybody else. It's a little meta, but
no, that's fantastic. It was really cool getting that insight because it's pretty rare when you get to talk to somebody who does a full coverage. You know what I mean? Like, it's a tough thing to perform through, and it's you definitely killed that, man. It was really great.
Into it.
Yeah.
You kind of go inward because it was very dark in there.
Yeah.
And I could hear some directions, like, don't move because the tentacle. Like, this is a very delicate apparatus. I'm like, apparatus?
Yeah, and I remember the night before we shot all the Sweaterface stuff, so that was our last day of shooting up there. I'm creating my shot list, I'm re-editing stuff, I'm considering what things we have to pick up, and everybody's going to sleep, and I'm like working on my list, and a Black Widow dropped onto my shot list, and I went like this, and then it was like somewhere on my sleeping bag.
Oh God.
And I had to go to sleep, and the sun was going to rise in like 3 hours, and I was like, oh my God, I can't sleep if this Black Widow is in my... And so eventually, after like maybe 30 minutes, I saw it crawl away and I could sleep, but it was madness. That night was madness.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have gotten any sleep that night.
Yeah, I got a couple hours. It was all right, but man, that was the last hurdle before the final day of shooting. It's like, I can't get bit by a Black Widow out here. It'll be over.
It's like the brown recluses that you really need to worry about, right?
I'm not sure.
All of the above.
But does anybody need any more than 2 hours when you're shooting a movie? I mean,
yeah, to be honest, I probably wouldn't have gotten more than 2 anyway. Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, before we wrap things up, is there anything that any of you want to touch on before we go from the movie? Anything that we didn't cover that you'd like to mention?
I want to give huge props to everybody here, especially we had one day where we shot over 25 pages. and Paul and I were like, oh my God. And like, it kind of got to this point where it was like, because the budget was so low, there was only like one day when the camp was filled with everybody, and we had to get everything that day because everybody was leaving. We didn't have enough money to pay anybody to stay longer. I wasn't going to make people work for free. So everybody here, Paul and I, like a military unit, went through every single setup, and you would be blown away to know how much of this movie was shot in that one day. It was a lot. And Kevin was doing the volleyball, totally nailed everything. Charles was over here doing his thing, his sweater face. And then at the end of that day, we were just like, we felt so proud of ourselves. And I couldn't be more proud of these guys because everybody we all saw what we were really made of. And I know it's a campy, fun little movie, but we treated it like we were shooting like Raiders of the Lost Ark or something. We were like, this is legit. And we all went for it, and we all rose to the occasion. Everybody lifted each other, and that's what everybody did in this movie. We all lifted each other. We all watched out for each other. And that's the only way we were able to do something like that. So kudos to all of you, because I couldn't have done it without you.
Fearless leader, man. Fearless leader. You.
Congrats. That's insane. I think the highest I've ever done was 18. That's crazy.
That's a lot still. Yeah.
That's crazy.
And with that elevation, it's hard to breathe.
Sure.
So we were getting fatigued. That was the second to last day of shooting, I think, was that big day. We were feeling
it. I'm still doing producer duties, which also also meant finding people who didn't have cell service, trying to drive up a mountain and trying to meet them down there.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes, that's right, man. Yeah, man. I always forget you're producing too. You're handling all that shit. Yeah.
Okay.
And then one time when we were doing the baptism of the twins, we heard over the walkie-talkie, "There's a family of coyotes circling you." And so we were like, all right, good to know. And so, we finished that up. But like all little stuff like that would happen all the time. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh man.
Just glad we're all okay.
y'all made it through. That's the important part. You made it through. You made an awesome movie, and you obviously forged even further forged the great relationships you guys have, and it's so obvious to see. But if no one else has anything to add, I think we'll start to wrap up. And while we do,
I just wanted to say
go ahead, Denise. Yeah.
I just wanted to say the accidental deaths were hilarious.
Oh my God, yeah.
Unexpected, loved them. Too funny.
Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was so good.
I really love that.
Great.
Yeah.
It's
our heroes just kill almost as many people as the bad guys in the movie, which I love.
So
Thank
good.
you. I'm glad you like that.
So where can we find y'all? I'm gonna drop everybody's socials and chat here right now. Let's start with Aaron. Just kind of go down the line and let us know, what are you working on? What do you got coming out? Where can we find your stuff?
All socials are just my name, @AaronMento. I was lucky I got to grab all those. You can find the Blu-ray for Ugly Sweater Party. I got this right here. This is all self-made, self-distributed. Charles, Hunter, and I did a commentary on it. We got almost a feature-length making of on it. Kevin's on there. Great stories. Paul's on there. And so anybody who buys this disc helps us to make more stuff. So we appreciate that a lot. We just made a movie called 16 Bits that should be out probably in the next couple months. We'll have that out there. Real proud of that movie. Kevin and Charles both star in that, and then Paul also shot it. And then we're working on a horror musical. All these guys will be giving more details about that soon. We just bagged a really awesome actor who I'm a huge fan of, and he's going to be in the movie. So we're super stoked about that. And lots of fun stuff coming down the line. So stay tuned.
Can't wait for that announcement. See who it
Yeah,
Charles.
I'm excited.
Oh yes. I'm. You can find me at Charlie Chuda on Instagram, and then Charles Chudabala on my other socials, Facebook and Twitter. I'm excited for the horror musical. I am excited. We're starting rehearsal soon for Crust with Sean Whalen, and we'll be going into production, I think, in May. I think we're starting in May, and I'm shooting a horror anthology movie right now called Body Count. And yes, and Paul's also DPing on that one.
Ooh.
Support women filmmakers. It's completely women led, created by Jennifer Nangle. Women horror women filmmakers all of it, and with female serial killers throughout.
And she's Sister Nips in Ugly Sweater Party.
Oh, great.
She plays Sister Nips. Yes. Yes, and then my other project, my personal project, is my podcast, which is called the Uncaged Mindset Podcast. It focuses on spirituality. I interview healers, Reiki healers, mediums, people who are bringing things from the other side, paranormal investigators, all of that on my podcast. Just some life tools to live in the present, knowing that if you do believe that we're more than this, you could take something from that and use it here to apply for your uncaged mindset. So that's what's
very cool.
That's very cool. Kevin, how about you?
So yeah, 16 Bits was the one that me and Aaron did together. We premiered that at the end of last year and actually won the festival that we were in. So kudos to all these guys here. And so yeah, we should have that one available everywhere here in the next couple months. And that is the first feature film that my production company did, and we actually just finished up our second one and just released that out into the world 2 weeks ago. That one is called Craving. It is an old school horror movie. It is a creature feature, lots of gore, practical effects, whole lot of fun. You can find that on Amazon and Google Play and YouTube, and eventually it'll be Tubi and Plex and hopefully everywhere else. Just finishing up I'm acting and producing in another horror movie right now that we're almost done, called Inner Demons. This one's going to have a really quick turnaround. That one will be available in like June or something like that. But then, and then onto the horror musical, The Jam of the Damned. So we're ready to just keep this thing going and keep going, playing, having fun with our friends.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Paul, take us home.
I am definitely looking forward to Jam of the Damned. That is going to be so exciting. Before that, I'm going to be squeezing in a project called It's Fate for my buddy Hunter Johnson. And that's what I have on the immediate horizon. As far as socials go, Paul Stephen Edwards, you can find me out there, under that name.
And real quick, I forgot to give you guys the link, but this is available at Ocular Migraine Productions at Shopify, and the link's on my socials and stuff if you want to grab the movie. And then Paul, he also does really cool extreme haunt stuff, which is very interesting.
I'm one of the pioneers in Los Angeles's immersive haunt scene, and currently putting that on the table on sort of the back burner in order to accommodate more film projects. But, in the future, I expect that will rear its nasty, ugly head again.
That's so cool. We're all big haunt fans as well. So that's rad to know.
T, you follow Sean Whalen on TikTok, right?
I do. Yeah.
And it's Sean Whalen actor. Is that what he is on TikTok as well?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up, but I do love the woke redneck stuff that he's been doing. It's super funny.
Yeah, I know he's Sean Whalen actor on Twitter for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all there in chat. Everyone just follow these people. They're wonderful humans and wildly talented creatives. So go follow them, support them, buy the Blu-ray. I haven't ordered mine. I'm super getting the Blu-ray because I have to see. This was great, but I have to see the behind the scenes feature on that because that's
But
so
we did
rad.
buy it digitally.
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
you can get it on
appreciate
Amazon
that. Thank
Prime digitally. Go do that. Then go buy the Blu-ray. Support physical media, especially when it's going right to the source, and it's helping these guys create because we love to see it. And I think I speak for all of us when I say, like, not for nothing, but I hope we all get to work together someday because you all just have this fantastic vibe, and it's very in line with where the three of us are as producers, and it's again, I'll say it one last time, y'all are an inspiration. Thanks for doing what you do. Thanks for doing what you did, and please keep doing it, because Hollywood's a weird place these days. It's a very shaky foundation, and I really believe that people like yourselves who are out there just making it happen are going to be the next wave of what we're going to have in entertainment. I think that's a great future for all of us filmmakers to find ourselves in. So congratulations on all your success. Thank you guys for coming on the show. Denise, Glenn, all of our socials are in chat as well if you're new here to the show. Thank you guys again for coming on and being a part of this. It was an honor to have you, and look forward to bringing it on again to talk about another movie when we got one coming out.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, let's talk collaboration. You guys want to talk about that when the cameras are up? We'll figure something out.
Yeah, absolutely would love to do that. So,
and I gotta say, watching you three watch Ugly Sweater Party was one of the most surreal, awesome experiences. Just sitting there watching, listening, and hearing everybody talk about it and react to it. It was you guys are inspiring too, because hearing that what we're doing is you know, giving entertainment and getting a reaction makes us want to keep doing it, and so that's super fulfilling. So that's, I don't know if you guys know how important that was to us to see, so thank you.
Well, thank you very much. That's very sweet of you to say, and it's we love doing it, and y'all are the reason why, so thank you. That's it, everybody. That's the show. Go check out Ugly Sweater Party on Amazon Prime, or even better than that, go buy the Blu-ray. Go support physical media. Support indie horror. Go, go, go. Thank you all for coming. We will see you next time. For Denise and I, we'll be on Fractured Roll tomorrow, so come check that out. But until then, you know, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and for God's sake, keep making horror. Good night, everybody.